Welcome to Pioneer Mindset, a place where we challenge our mindset and address the discomfort in both business and life by finding clarity resulting in bold conviction. I'm your host, Garrett Ruskamp, fifth generation farmer, husband, and father from rural Nebraska. Whether you're navigating frustration from past decisions or worry about the uncertainty you face today in your business, we're going to learn from our struggles and take on new challenges with a resilient mindset. Join me as I share my journey of struggles I faced in agriculture as a farmer and family man. I'm ready to dive into honest conversations to tackle the mindsets surrounding key issues that rural ag business owners face that will ultimately help you gain control, leading to a profitable and sustainable business. Let's adapt to Pioneer Mindset and get to it. Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited to talk about today's episode where I'm going to be talking about our identity. Now, do me a favor, wherever you're at, hopefully you're in a good place, you can do this where you can pull out your wallet, your ID, and physically look at it and see what it says. It's probably going to say your name, probably your address, where you're from. Then it's also going to give a description of who you are. Now, I'm going to do this with me. I'm going to say it's Garrett Ruskamp from Dodge, Nebraska. Get my height, my description, and then it says farmer. Huh? Wait a second. Yeah, I'm pretty sure on my identity it says farmer. Now this sounds crazy, but I feel like this is the identity that I put on myself. Now think of it in your shoes. Is there an identity that you have put on yourself? Maybe you're a farmer, maybe you're a rancher, or maybe the word cattleman would be a better word, or cow-calf man, or maybe in a different essence, maybe you're a mother. That's all it says. Stay-at-home mom, whatever that looks like, your occupation. I'm pretty sure in most cases we think that our identity is literally what we do and that's it. And we can't change it. And the crazy thing is we put this identity on ourselves, but yet we feel like we can't change it. So I want to kind of tell you where this came from and a little bit of kind of why I was thinking about this. And so here recently, we actually sold our cows. We sold most of our cows. We sold our cattle. A few weeks back, we were actually hauling the cattle to town, to the sale barn, jumping in the pickup. We had all three boys sitting in the back seat. Ellen was riding along, kind of this big old family affair, kind of the sort of last hurrah, so to speak. And I try not to get emotional because I'm not very an emotional person, but just couldn't help but thinking this is kind of the last time that we could be doing this for our own cattle. And something that we truly enjoyed, and we've definitely been doing a lot in the past. It's definitely something we did with the boys as they grew up and got a little bit older. Definitely something Ellen and I did as we've been together our entire relationship. I was always a person that was involved in our cattle operation. I was always the person that was in the pickup hauling the cows to pasture, hauling the cattle to the sale barn. And just couldn't help but thinking this is definitely times are changing, but my identity personally has been changing with everything that I've been doing here within my business. Me just recently releasing Pioneer Farmer, the new business, the consulting business. So I'm super excited about that, but I'm definitely having to work through this whole identity change. And I definitely felt like my identity was a farmer. It was a cattleman. Everywhere I'd go, everybody would see me. I felt like I wanted to be known as that person that was just really knew a lot about the cattle industry, knew a lot about cows. So basically everywhere I'd go, I'd have people that would always be asking, how are the cows doing? Or when you start calving? Or how is calving going? Or what does things look like on the farm for you right now? Or how has it been to get in the fields? What's harvest been going like? Just different questions like that. That's just who I am. And that's always the questions that I've enjoyed. I always used to joke to where if I was the person that was at the party, I was the one that if you didn't want to come talk about cows or tractors or farming, or maybe even the weather for that matter, I pretty much didn't have anything else to add to the conversation. So that was definitely who I was. And that's kind of, I really enjoyed that, to be honest. That's all I really cared about, to be honest. And so that's who I was. And I put that on myself that I couldn't change that as well. And so I definitely feel like that's who we grew up as. And you've maybe grown up the same way, where you've got this identity that you put on yourself that you just feel like you can't change no matter how hard you try. And so a little bit about why I changed my identity, or I'm in the process of changing my identity, because I want to clarify here when it comes to changing your identity, you don't have to change, or maybe it's not something that literally changes, like I said, on your driver's license to where you're deleting this and adding that, or it's this or that. I don't think that necessarily has to be the case, but I think it's just being willing to open to change who you are and how you go about things. And so that's why I wanted to share a little bit about why I've decided to switch and kind of change the way I think about my identity a little bit. So going back to the cows, going back to a little bit of the history of my background. I've mentioned this before, but a little bit of the background is we got into the cow-calf industry. I've always been really passionate about the cow-calf industry. We always had a small cow-calf herd when I grew up in high school. I always got into showing livestock and showing cattle, showed a lot of breeding heifers so I could retain those and start my own herd. This was something I just truly enjoyed doing, getting out into the show barn early in the mornings, getting out there, taking care of the calves, and really getting after it. And I loved that work. And that continued on till after college when we started our own cow operation. I guess I personally bought some bred heifers. And then once we got into, basically, we tried to, or I should say my dad tried to figure out a way to get me back to the operation. And expanding in the cow-calf side of things for us seemed like it was easier because we didn't require as much of a land base. We didn't have to go out and rent a whole bunch of extra land. There was a couple times where we did pick up a pasture or two, and so that allowed us to expand in our cow-calf operation. So we did expand a couple times, and then in 2016, that's when we did our big expansion. We built our hoop building. We basically took our cows from about 150 cows and doubled it up to 300. We were calving twice a year at that point, and then we continued to expand a couple years later when we added an additional herd, calving 3 times a year up to 450 cows at one point in time. And like I said, this is who I was. I just loved the work that we were doing. I loved being known as the guy that was doing something different, working hard, taking care of the livestock, being a farmer, one that was getting out there planting the crop, raising the crop, taking care of everything on the farm. And that work, albeit hard, albeit time-consuming, I loved it. And that's who I wrapped myself up into being. That's who I was. But really what this came down to is some of the different challenges that we went through, with the challenges with being financially struggling, going through challenges in 2019, 2020, when my uncle left the operation because of the challenges that we were facing, but then also dealing with stress with the bank, dealing with excess debt that we could not get ourselves out from under, dealing with the struggles while going through all of that, building a family. Try to imagine going through building a family while your business that you're in on a day-to-day is struggling, even though you're neck deep in the workload, you're also struggling financially. You're worried about if we're going to be able to farm on next year, if we're going to be able to get approved for a line of credit for next year so we can plant our crop, continue to feed the cattle, and just continue to farm on. And when you're worried about all that stuff, that definitely takes a toll on you. And to be completely honest, when it comes to the cow-calf industry, I got burned out. I'm just going to put it out there. I was talking with my uncle when we were expanding. This was back when we were basically going to add that third operation, that third herd, I guess. And he asked me, he said, do you ever think you'll get burned out with cows? And at that time, I was young and probably ignorant. And I said, no way. This is no way I'm going to get burned out with the cows. I love this, man. I don't care if I go to work 80, 100 hours a week. I love what I'm doing. But the truth is, we got burned out. Part of that was because of the financial struggles. Part of that was because through that entire time we expanded, we dealt with a lot of actually health issues within the calves and the health issues within the hoop barn, some breeding issues, kind of breed back issues. And we were searching for every different way we could solve this and searching for different answers, different silver bullets, something to magically save us, as I've said a few times. And we never really did come across anything, to be honest, but we just kept plugging away and trying to get better and do things better. And this really definitely took a toll on me, mentally. Now, I still love the cow-calf industry. I still love a lot of things about that industry. But to say I did not get burned out, I'd be lying if I said that. Because I did. I got burned out a few times. It put in a lot of hours. And through being a part of a network that we've been a part of the last few years, it's definitely opened my eyes to try to find different things that really fulfill you, really fill my cup, so to speak. And that's where I've been searching for different things. And really, I'd say the last year or so, that's what I've been trying to do very hard. We definitely took a step back in the cow-calf industry. Obviously, I mentioned that we've actually sold our cows. That was kind of a different direction we were going. We came across that decision. We made that decision for multiple reasons, and I'm not really going to dive into that necessarily, but we made that decision for multiple reasons. And one of those was, for me, I was getting a little bit burned out. I was trying to find something that would maybe fulfill me a little bit more. And so ultimately, that's where Pioneer Farmer came from. That's where this podcast came from. Just trying to find a way where I can take my experiences and provide value to others, maybe help other people, provide my knowledge, my experience, and share that with other people. And that's why I'm excited to, like I said, launch Pioneer Farmer, but then also shift my identity a little bit. And like I said, not completely change my identity, because that's one thing I'm currently facing. As I record this episode, I'm trying to build a Pioneer Farmer and the business, the consulting side, trying to record episodes here for Pioneer Mindset, but I struggle with seeing the sun outside right now, all the things I need on go do in the shop, or go get the planter or the air seeder ready, so that way when it does dry out, we can get after it and go plant. Struggling with different ideas on the farm. I am always an idea person. I tend to chase rabbit holes, and I'm sure as my wife is recording this, she's going to laugh, or when she's editing this, but I tend to go after that stuff, so I get distracted with who I am, or this whole identity piece of that's what I've always done for the past 20 years plus. And so it's really hard to change your identity. That's kind of where I want to move into this next, is it's really hard to change your identity. That doesn't mean it's impossible. And also, like I said before, you don't have to completely shift or change your identity. I am personally trying to build this business, build this podcast, build this to be something that's going to be fulfilling for me, something that's going to ultimately provide a better lifestyle for my family, and be, like I said, more fulfilling to provide value for other people. But in the long run, I don't want to change from being a farmer, and I don't think I should have to either. I don't think I should have to change that part of my identity. But I don't think it's to where we need to put this literally on our license, literally stamp it on our forehead, wear a hat around every single day that says farmer or rancher or mother, husband, father. I don't think it should be one or the other. I don't think it should be something that's set in stone or tattooed onto you. I don't think it's something that we cannot change. And so that's where I want to just really point this out, that it's important that we are open to change and open to really changing what we, that identity that we put on ourselves. Because we ultimately put it on ourselves. As I mentioned, I put the identity on myself as being a farmer. If you did not want to talk about farming or anything agriculture related when it comes to being outside in a social setting, then I didn't necessarily want to talk to you. And that's on me. That's not on anybody else that, they're not bringing up the things I want to in a conversation. That's on me. So I was putting that identity on myself, and I was not being open to change or open to talking about different things. So I just want to mention that as well. We need to definitely be open to change, and the identity that we put on ourselves, we need to make sure we're putting the right identity onto ourselves as well. And the other thing I want to talk about here when it comes to identity, and I mentioned I've been in a network, and we went through a training a while back where we talked about our identity. And the identity, like I said, that we put on ourselves is what would happen if everything you do today, everything you have, got taken away from you. I don't want to put a bad picture in your head, but what if, say, like the farm got taken away from you, or whatever that looks like, everything you do on the day-to-day basis, if it got taken away from you, who would you be? And that's what I want to kind of bring up here. The point that I'm trying to get at is your identity is who you are, not what you do. So really keep that in mind. Your identity is who you are, not what you do. And we get wrapped up into that all too often. And you can change your identity. You can be whoever you want to be. And maybe somebody else is putting that identity on you and putting you in a box. Well, that's definitely a problem as well. And you need to work on that, because if somebody else is putting an identity on you and putting you in a box, the odds are you're not truly happy, not truly fulfilled, because that identity cannot be accurate if somebody else puts it on you. So keep that in mind as well. I feel like I'm kind of rambling a little bit, and I feel like this is an important topic to discuss, especially considering where I've launched Pioneer Farmer. I've put that out there and made that known. I think it's important people to understand kind of why I've shifted things a little bit and why I've gotten to where I am and basically where I want to go in the future. I just want to really bring this up or reiterate that your identity is who you are, not what you do. So I really hope this resonates with you. I really hope you can kind of take some things from this and realize that, hey, even though I really love farming, ranching, I really love taking care of the livestock, I really love being a father, but my identity is not who I am, or not what I do, excuse me. It's trying to keep that one straight, but really keep that in mind, and I really hope this hits home for you, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for tagging along with me today as we sharpened our mindsets. If you've gained insight from today's episode, be sure to take a screenshot to share or send this episode to somebody who might also find value in it. For more, follow me on Instagram at Garrett or on Facebook, and join me next time for more conviction through clarity.